Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into the absolute fundamental unit of life. We're talking about cells. It's pretty amazing to think about, but every single living organism you've ever seen, including yourself, starts out as just one of these highly organized microscopic factories.
Now, before we zoom into the actual mechanics, it's kind of wild to think about just how tiny these building blocks are. Our unaided human eyes just hit a wall at about 0.1 millimeters. Most cells exist way, way beyond that limit, operating in a completely invisible universe that we could only guess at for most of human history.
So, here is our itinerary for today's Explainer. Discovering the hidden world, the outer boundaries, the microscopic factory floor, comparing cell types, and finally, growth and cell division. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. Discovering the hidden world.
Thanks to the invention of the microscope, our entire understanding of biology changed forever. Back in 1665, Robert Hooke peered at a tiny slice of cork and saw these box-like structures that he famously named cells. Fast forward to the 1830s, and Matthias Schleiden and Theodor Schwann put the puzzle pieces together, realizing that all plants and all animals are made of these exact same things. Finally, in 1855, Rudolf Virchow added the last crucial piece, the idea that all cells arise from pre-existing cells. Together, these four pioneers established the cell theory, unifying all biology under the idea that the cell is the fundamental unit of life.
Moving on to Part 2, the outer boundaries. Cells absolutely must interact with their environment to survive, right? And they do this largely through a process called osmosis. Osmosis is essentially the movement of water molecules through a selectively permeable boundary, the plasma membrane. The water naturally travels from a region of higher concentration to a lower one. Think of it like water carefully negotiating its way past the factory's ultra-selective security gates. You can actually see this delicate balancing act in the real world. Depending on the concentration of the surrounding solution, a cell is going to react drastically. If you drop potato pieces into pure water, they swell right up because water naturally rushes in. But if you dunk them in a highly concentrated salt solution, those cells drastically shrink as the water is literally pulled out of them. It's a constant microscopic tug of war just to stay alive.
All right, Part 3, the microscopic factory floor.
If you peel back that outer membrane of a typical bacterial, plant, or animal cell, you find a semi-fluid, jelly-like substance called the cytoplasm. And suspended right there in the jelly is a whole suite of specialized little organs. We call them organelles. Each one is tasked with a highly specific, crucial job to keep the whole operation running.
Right in the center, acting as the ultimate control room, is the nucleus. This is headquarters. It houses our genetic material, our DNA, wrapped up into chromosomes. It basically acts as the master blueprint, dictating exactly what the cell is and what it does.
Stepping out from headquarters, we hit the actual manufacturing floor, the Endoplasmic Reticulum, or ER for short. The ER is a network of membranes that splits its duties. You have the rough ER, which is studded with little ribosomes, making it look bumpy, and its primary job is building proteins. Meanwhile, the smooth ER handles synthesizing fats and detoxifying harmful substances that could otherwise wreck the cell.
And of course, you probably remember this one from high school biology, the mitochondria, the undisputed powerhouse of the cell. Thanks to its uniquely folded inner membrane, it breaks down glucose through cellular respiration, churning out all the ATP energy required to keep this entire factory humming along seamlessly. Rounding out the factory floor, we have a few other essential departments. The Golgi Apparatus essentially acts as the shipping department, modifying, packaging, and transporting materials where they need to go. We have vacuoles, which are basically storage tanks for food and water. And you can't forget the lysosomes. These act as an extreme recycling center. They contain powerful digestive enzymes to break down waste, earning them the rather intense nickname suicide bags because they can actually digest damaged parts of the cell itself.
That brings us to Part 4, comparing cell types.
Now, plant and animal cells don't run on the exact same hardware. Plant cells have to stand upright against the wind and rain, right? So they require a tough, rigid outer cell wall made of cellulose. They also need massive central vacuoles to keep up their water pressure and chloroplasts to pull off photosynthesis. Animal cells, on the other hand, don't have those rigid walls or chloroplasts, which is exactly why they can so easily change shape, move around, and form highly flexible tissues.
When you observe this under a microscope, the difference is stark.
Plant cells, say from an onion peel, look rigid, box-like, almost like a brick wall. Contrast that with human cheek cells. They are totally different, flexible, irregularly arranged, and perfectly adapted for an organism that is constantly moving and bending.
And finally, Part 5, Growth and Cell Division.
The sheer complexity of life comes down to incredible teamwork. It follows a very strict hierarchy. Individual cells group up to form tissues. Different tissues combine to build complex organs, like your heart or a leaf. Several organs then work together as organ systems, ultimately scaling all the way up to form a complete functioning organism.
But how does that organism actually grow, or heal a scraped knee? Well, the cell factory has to duplicate itself. The primary method for this growth is called mitosis. It's where one parent cell runs through a highly controlled cycle to literally split in half, creating two perfect, genetically identical daughter cells, complete with the exact same DNA.
Normally, this multiplication process is incredibly strict. It's heavily monitored. But sometimes a cell's internal monitoring system breaks down. It starts ignoring the chemical stop signals from its neighbors and divides uncontrollably. That runaway division leads to the formation of tumors, and it's the fundamental biological root of cancer. It really highlights just how flawlessly precise normal cell division has to be.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you step back and look at the big picture. If literally every living thing starts as just a single microscopic cell, what other secrets do these tiny factories still hold about aging, disease, and even the future of synthetic life? We're at a point where scientists are beginning to program synthetic cells from scratch in the lab. So, as we keep looking closer, what other awe-inspiring mysteries are waiting for us inside the fundamental building blocks of life? Thanks for tuning into this explainer, and definitely keep questioning the incredible microscopic world around you.